Hello, everyone.
Welcome to Japan. Marriage. Cosplay. Cosplay is what brings us together today. Cosplay, that blessed hobby. That masquerade within a masquerade. You're all welcome for that. You can keep it. Thank you. I'll be here for one more day.
We're using that for something. I don't know what, but we're using that.
It'll be how you introduce the judges, and then you just come and skip to the end.
We're like, just watch the
Awards.
cards. The hello. The benediction.
Yeah, God.
Well, welcome everyone to the, is this loud enough? Am I loud enough? I'm loud anyway.
Yeah,
All right.
you're plenty loud.
Hi.
Yeah, you're,
I'm used to yelling. Customer service. I work lines for multiple conventions too in the past, so yelling. Hi, I'm Mimi. I was the MC for the cosplay show last night, but I'm not important. You just need to know who I am in case you're like, who's that weird person? What's more important is that you are at the Cosplay Judges Q&A to answer your burning questions about cosplay and all things related to that, like performance and contests and these individual experiences of these wonderful people sitting next to me. So I'll be just kind of the moderator. Not a whole lot going on here, but if you guys would like to do some brief introductions here, go for it.
Okay. Hello everyone, I'm Freya from Indonesia. I was the World Cosplay Summit 2016 Indonesian representative and champion, and Nini was bringing me here, and I made it somehow, so nice to meet you.
Yay! How long were you on the team?
My flight is like a day.
It was
24
at least
hours.
24 hours.
Yep.
Also, just throwing it out there that her visa is good for 5 years. So if you want to see her back at American cons, tell your local conventions that you want to see Freya from Indonesia because she's amazing.
and you do.
Yes.
If you really love her, ask for her back on the Sanjapan page too.
Yes.
We got 5 years out of it. Come on.
Yeah.
I love you. Come back.
Okay, I'm ready.
Hi, my name is Diana Tolan. I am the co-owner of a costuming company called Dial C Costumes. We do custom costumes and large-scale costume work for individual clients and large companies like Scrap Entertainment, Nintendo, Marvel Entertainment, Viz Entertainment, and we did another one. Square Enix.
It's Square.
Yeah, Square. We did the costumes for the Zelda escape room and the Final Fantasy escape room. You might have seen our work for Marvel Entertainment's Becoming Marvel YouTube series. We did 5 costumes for that. And I've also been a cosplayer for 22 years. I represented the United States in 2016 with Freya and her partner Rian. And I am also returning alumni for World Cosplay Summit last year, and I am currently the organizer for Team USA at Anime Expo and the Society for the Promotion of Japanese Animation.
I'm Ashley.
She has done many things too.
I always like following up Diana because she has a lot going on, and then I like to joke about I'm just me. Hi, I'm Ashley. I go by Alpaca Ash on most social medias. I've been cosplaying since 2001. I am, my first convention was at Anime Fest in 2001, so I've been around here for a while. 2015, I represented the US for World Cosplay Summit as Team USA. We went along with my partner Yumi Gamora, and we placed 3rd overall and won Best Craftsmanship that year. And then I also competed more recently in TwitchCon 2016. Also placed 3rd. That's my.
Yeah.
I always placed 3rd for some reason. I placed
triples down.
Yeah, triples down. Placed 3rd with my Astrologian. So I've been competing for quite a few years now. I think that's about it. I work in the video game industry. That's the other thing I do. So I'm glad to see everybody here today.
Thank you very much. Okay, so the way we're going to do this, we're going to start out with kind of a Q&A, and then if I need to take over and ask some questions and try to stump them just for funsies, I will, especially Diana. Just because you looked at me like that just now, I'm ready for you. Let's go.
Good luck.
No. Okay.
I'm so
Let's go.
old. Cosplay.
What's your favorite
seen
Pokemon?
Everything. If she doesn't have an
Jigglypuff.
answer.
There we go. Okay.
If she doesn't have an answer, I don't know what to do. No one does. We have a microphone up front if you want to come speak into it, just so you're clearly heard. So, does anybody want to raise their hand that wants to has an immediate burning question about cosplay? Anything goes.
Oh,
You have.
really quickly, I just want to take a moment to say that this competition this year for San Japan was absolutely phenomenal. Everybody who went across the stage brought something unique and diverse, and it was not lost on us. It was incredibly appreciated, and like all the cosplay that I've seen here has been phenomenal. And we've traveled the world and looked at a lot of cosplay, and it was still an amazing, amazing event. And you should all be incredibly proud of yourselves. And you know, I know that like I really truly feel humbled being here and getting the opportunity to judge and to watch everybody's work. So thank you so much from myself, and I'm sure from my co-judges.
When we were taking, I'm like, this is gonna take a while.
Yeah, and they're like, do you have choices yet? We're like, are you kidding? Rome was not built in a day.
It was, when we could hear the audio going on. I'm like, okay, we gotta figure this out. Can we go? And like, they were like, are they stalling yet? I think I'm pretty sure they're stalling now.
We've been stalling for about 15 minutes now. We really have to figure it out.
What you guys missed was us up there, Jensen up there doing the Hall Cosplay Awards, and our Diana running back and forth on the stage trying to be like, okay, talk more. But I'm the talker, and Jensen was just like,
I could hear Whitney. I could hear you talking. I'm like, Whitney's stalling.
I didn't get to stall last night.
You what?
I didn't get to stall.
Oh, okay.
It was Jensen.
Okay. Sorry.
But yeah,
so we
kudos to
apologize
Jensen,
for
that
taking
was
so
good
long,
stuff.
but it's because it was so amazing. So yeah, you guys all should be very, very proud.
Yeah, it was also the swiftest costume contest I've ever seen in my entire life. It was like
Very clockwork.
It was like running a marathon. I was like, oh, the next one's up. Oh God, oh, it's so nice.
And so they had a random just question. They didn't have custom audio per entry, right?
Yes, we do custom audio.
Okay.
They sign up online
good.
beforehand, and if they want to have custom audio, they're allowed to. If they come to the con without custom audio, we have a music guy that has his ways.
I know, there's like every single
Their legal
costume
means
had some themed. Yeah, every single costume had themed music. And at first I thought, oh, sure, they're just gonna do just a random mix, like most cons that I've been to. And it's like, oh no, it's all custom.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. It worked really well. So
We try to make it very personal for everybody.
yeah, I thought that was great.
Yeah. Hopefully that charm comes through.
Yeah, 100%.
So who has burning cosplay questions? Come on up to the microphone.
Oh, there's right here. Okay, awesome.
Just so everyone can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Yes. All right. So my question to you is: so cosplay is very well known for being like how exact a person can get their cosplay to look like their character. Do you like to have someone who's like spot on perfect, or would you like to see more personal interpretations, a little bit of like personal flair?
If it's for me, I really love improvement for the character. As long as the design is not changed and the style, you can make your own style, but it's still the character. Like, I mean, if the character is like this, it should be in uniform. You cannot use too fancy fabric or you add too many blinks on it. So that's how the improvement works. Not too much and not make it less.
Okay.
I love to see diversity in fabric choices or in material choices. I love seeing people, go, well, I wanted to do this, but I also wanted to try to do it without, for example, like maybe without using Warbler, I wanted to come up with a material that has similar properties, or I can, manipulate armor out of something else. Like I do a lot of fabric armor personally because I like that it's lightweight. I also love seeing something that's tailored for whatever it is that you're doing. We use the fabric armor because I tend to do a lot of work for companies where we're standing in the costume for several hours at a time. It has to be lightweight. It has to be something I can wear for 4 to 6 hours. But I also love seeing things where you have made a choice that is deliberate for stage or for the act that you're doing, or I give us a reason why you're doing the choice or making the choice that you're doing. I know in certain countries, accuracy, like a 1-to-1 accuracy, is really, really important to them. But if you have made a decision and you can justify that decision and it makes sense, I think you should always go with what you think is going to represent yourself and the character and your skills.
Yeah, for me, I think for contests, certain contests value accuracy highly. It might be on the score sheet. Some don't. So as a judge, I definitely see what each contest is looking for as far as their criteria. Like for instance, TwitchCon is not an accuracy-based contest because they allow original characters. So that's not as important. But something that I would say is, for accuracy's sake, if you make a decision for, like say you're trying to make a school uniform that has a lot of bias tape on it, and you decide, well, I want to do something different than that. If it makes the costume easier, I tend to not like accuracy changes when it makes the costume easier to do, just because it kind of feels like, oh, well, you didn't try to like do that really crazy design or something. But if it's something like you wanted to embellish, I really like embellishments. If it makes sense, I'm not saying throw rhinestones on everything, because that's definitely
throw rhinestones.
I mean, but definitely, I may not have been rhinestoning something yesterday in the hotel room. I may
Your
or
favorite
may
song
not.
is Hotline Bling, right?
Do what?
Your favorite song is Hotline Bling?
Probably.
Probably. I don't know Muse.
That's fair. That's fair.
Anyway, like if it makes sense. Adding additional like embellishment trims. I love people like if you have a military uniform that has stripes on it and you want to add like a little bit of like lacy trim or something, if it's like a fancy clamp character or something, that you're like, I want to add some little shine. Like I love that stuff. And I also love it when people think of materials that the character would have worn. Like say if you make Malon from Legend of Zelda, she's like a ranch hand, so you use like natural fabrics, so you use like cotton or linen, and thinking about the character like in their environment, like what they might have worn. So just kind of doing interesting things with materials. So I don't know if that helps for your question.
It's giving me ideas. So.
Awesome, cool.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
And to kind of jump off from that one, just while we're on the topic, something that I've spoken with a little bit with you and a lot with Freya about this weekend is the importance of performance as part of the portrayal. Can y'all speak to that a little bit and what your thoughts are on how performance is integral, with also the accuracy and the craftsmanship?
Yeah, maybe it's already told by Ashley and then before that you can change the costume because on the stage or on person is totally different, because on the stage all the details will be missing because of the light is too strong. So you have to think carefully about that. If you want to do stage costume or maybe photo shoot only costume or for event costume, you have to consider the materials, the construction, and everything. So the costume and the performance is really relatable, and you have to think carefully about that.
To sort of supplement that, I mean, like I said, I for my Saber Altar costume, it's a very bright purple. It has a lot of embellishment on it. It also has a lot of hand painting to give it depth so that you could see it on stage. And also the fabric choices that I made, I painted the fabric. I chose materials that had, as it moved, it sort of mimicked different pleating and things, because I wanted it to constantly be in motion on stage. I wanted it to look like it was moving all the time. And, and then we wanted, the performance aspect is so strong and it's so important in a lot of international competitions, particularly. And again, if you justify if you give a proper explanation as to why you've chosen to do something, I put this different style line in here because I was going to have to do the splits. Or, you know, I paneled out this area because it was going to get the most friction from my legs when I do my performing. Or, you know, I did these things in order to accommodate the fact that we're going to roll around on stage and punch each other a bunch. Like, tell us why you're making that choice and how you've adjusted that costume to make it, you know, work in that sense. Because in my, like, I want to, particularly for myself, I like to reward ingenuity in cosplay, because what you guys are doing is engineering something that you could just, you know, you could just make it, but you're also going to be putting it on stage and you're going to be doing something that's entertaining, and it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot of thinking and figuring to do that. So, you know, never be afraid to be like, I did this, and it's a little different than it looks in the reference picture. Like, don't say it's bad. Like, I made this wrong because I made this way so that I could, you know, do something special for you guys on stage. But understand, we might ask to know what it is that you're going to do, and please show us.
Yeah, and for me, unless each contest is different, but if you sometimes at contests, performance, like what you do on stage, is just as important as what your costume looks like and the quality of your costume. To me, if I don't get a criteria from the contest, I'll usually, you know, after kind of seeing the costumes and seeing like what kind of contest it might be, like I might weigh one over the other depending. Like for instance, in Texas, it just seems like when I first started cosplaying, it seemed like there were a lot more skits than there are now, and it seems to have lessened in popularity really more recently. And I actually have friends on the East Coast who get really confused when they come here because skits are huge on either coast. And actually at Anime Expo, every single entry is a skit.
Yeah,
essentially.
we have I don't even think we have any walk-ons.
Yeah, there's no walk-ons at AX, and it's actually very entertaining. The AX show I love. So for like walk-ons, like for me, it's really important when you go on stage to take your time and to think about ahead of time what you're going to do, what poses, like really trying to portray that character. I found that really important, and it definitely, I won't necessarily ding somebody for not doing a walk-on skit or something, but if you do that, I definitely value that very highly. So if you go on and you just fully embody that character, I definitely give bonus points for sure on my scoring for that, for sure. If you go on and you kind of just walk across stage really fast, it's like, well, I mean, their costume was great, but, you know, you didn't really show it off. Like, you want, you know, and you, kind of rambling, but when when you're on stage, 30 seconds is usually about the walk-on time. It's a lot longer than you think. So, you know, just breathe, take your time. So definitely highly recommend planning some of that, even if it's just a walk-on. Walk-ons are great. I've done walk-ons for a long time. And, you know, I think they're great, so definitely, like, just kind of plan that ahead, and you can do some great stuff. Not every Best in Show has to be a skit.
And you can also take a look at runway competition, or not runway competitions, but like runway walks for fashion, high fashion. For the most part, you can at least see somebody come out to the stage, do some posing, sort of give people a chance to see a 360 view of the item, and then walk back. And typically they start in one place, they go to a stop, show the costume a bit, go to another place, stop, show the costume again, go back, one more turn, and then leave the stage. That's as basic as we would want, as I would expect to see for a walk-on. I want to see at least, you know, 2 stops so that I can see your costume in its full movement and from all angles. And to me, that shows me that you understand what a walk-on is, and that it's there to like promote the costume more than your performance quality, but it also gives the audience a chance from all angles and from the video to appreciate the work that you've done.
Yeah, you spend all that time, you show it off.
Yeah,
like, spend that
we
time.
want to see it.
Yeah,
Everyone
a couple
wants to see
poses, like, you know, have a couple poses in mind, and yeah.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have, I think I saw a hand up right here? Yeah, come on up.
So, back when you guys were just starting as cosplayers, what were some of the biggest lessons that you came to realize?
I had like 5 just pop into my head, like just immediately.
I figured it was a big question.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question.
First time I'm doing my cosplay is because I really love making costume, and I also doing school for fashion design. So the best thing is learning how to make costume, and also because I was a nerd and I was very shy before, I really learned how to be more confident and how to socialize with more people. That's the most important thing in cosplay for me, because it's really hard to get in touch with people and getting more confidence, because we always feel like I'm not doing this good, and always feeling like everyone is doing better than me, like that. So years by years, I'm learning to appreciate myself and appreciate everyone also. I think that's the best part of cosplay for me.
That was a really good answer.
I think the most important lesson that I've learned with cosplay, besides time management, which is without a doubt the hardest lesson to learn, is it's the Leslie Knope rule, or it's the Ron Swanson rule, I guess it is. Like, never half-ass something, always whole-ass one thing. If you're going to do something, try to do it as well as you can. Take the opportunity to learn what it is that you're going to be executing and learn it well. I remember I was making these really big, ridiculous costumes that were not quite what I wanted them to be. Like, they were never quite finished, or something was always like, it was good enough to go out in for the day, but then like at the end of the day I was like, I don't ever want to wear this again. Or like, I'm not interested in taking pictures with it. Or like, it just wasn't something that I could, reliably wear more than once or twice. And I remember thinking like, okay, you know what, let's go back and start working on like foundation work. And I started building Naruto costumes aggressively, because they were simple shapes that were easy to execute, but when they're executed well, they look really clean and polished and nice. And then from there, I went to uniforms, and then from there, I went to bias tape, and then eventually I went back into ball gowns and larger dresses or fitted menswear, or really, more elaborate costuming. I tried to take on challenges and learn things for, I would say probably from like 2008 through 2014 even. And again, like I wanted to learn how to do something, and I wanted to learn how to do it well. So when I did Sophia, which was the costume I wore last night at the show, I went through several iterations and practices learning how to do sequin work, because the whole front is, I hand sequined that in a gradient myself. And all of the pieces on the skirt were a challenge, because it was hand sewing with captured hems and embellishment. And then it also had, it was the first time I'd ever done applique, like that I applied myself to a costume. And I was using different fibers, and it was a lot of personal challenges, but I wanted, and leather, it was the first time I'd ever really used leather properly. And I really wanted to take on those challenges, but also to get the most I could out of that experience, and have it on something that I loved and that I wanted to share and that I wanted to wear more. So pick something and really learn it inside and out, or find people who are willing to talk to you about it or teach you about it, because you'd be amazed how many people are interested in sharing their knowledge.
Yeah, so I feel like that's both of those things. Highly agree with both Ray and Diana, because I did the same thing where I would not really focus something and re-wearing things. That's actually a thing that I've tried to do more of, and go back and revisit things I made before. So for me, the biggest lesson that I have now learned, and I learned it in 2016. So I've been cosplaying since 2001, and this lesson I didn't learn until 2016, and it was for TwitchCon. So TwitchCon, what came out of it was, yes, I placed, and I made this big elaborate costume, but I did it at the sacrifice of my mental health. And I actually just absolutely wrecked myself. And afterwards it became very, very difficult. I had a hard time even just leaving my house because I actually started suffering from severe anxiety. And it was entirely because of stress. I stressed myself into a loop of anxiety. And so I'm much better now. Like, I'm okay now, I promise. But through that experience, I don't regret making that costume, and I don't regret competing, but I do not regret, because I learned. So I learned that I don't need to murder myself for cosplay. Cosplay is a wonderful hobby. I absolutely love it. I've met so many wonderful people. My best friends I met through cosplay, and save a couple of people. I won't not see everything. Anyway, like most of my friends are from cosplay.
Dodo birds out there. Don't worry.
Yeah. No, I'm saying one of my best friends I met through another friend. But anyway, sorry, random tangent. But it's just not something that is like, you need to love yourself. Like, love yourself, please take care of yourself. And that's the thing that I've been a lot happier and enjoyed the hobby more, because I'm not stressed out about, oh my God, what if I announced these costumes and I'm not wearing all of them, and freaking out about that. And like, there's no, like, that's not, like, you're gonna be fine. Like, if you don't finish this costume for this convention, that is totally okay. There will always be another convention. There will always be another contest. I know we had a couple people who had to drop out from San Japan this year, and that's totally okay. Like, I would rather somebody not like drop out of a contest and then keep working on their costume and take care of themselves, and then compete again at another convention, or come back next year. And going back into what Diana said, it's like, if you take the time and really work on your costumes and take care of yourself, your costumes are going to be better.
And your performance will be better.
Your performance will be better. You'll want to wear that costume again. I've had costumes where I had a horrible time in because I stressed myself out and rushed it and did all these things, and now I don't want to look at that costume again. I want to burn it. So, sorry to bring in the really heavy topic, but it's something that I've wanted to talk about publicly for a while, is that you can really hurt yourself with stress. And I do want, to say, like, you can recover from it. It's if it's something you're going through right now, it is okay to be dealing with anxiety. It's something that you can work through and talk to people about, and it's totally okay. So, random PSA. But yeah, please don't kill yourselves. We love you.
Cosplay.
We love you so much. We want you to be happy.
I think that's really important. I'm glad that you actually brought that up, because I think a lot of people don't take care of themselves.
Yeah.
like she said, love yourself.
Please sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep, eat.
And
eat. Yeah, actually, like, there was a costume I was gonna wear today, but my eyes are super bloodshot from makeup getting in my eyes, and so I can't really wear contacts right now. And I'm like, it's okay that I'm not wearing a costume right now. I hope you guys forgive me for not wearing a costume right now. Now I'm paranoid, but no, it's okay.
another question? Come right up.
Yeah. I like your shirt. That is awesome.
Just put that anywhere, it's fine.
So when you're doing cosplay, like particularly for people with anxiety, how do you like get over that feeling of, I've done this outfit, but it doesn't seem to be enough, that whatever I've done, it's not enough in my eyes, even though people are saying that, oh, it's great, it's wonderful. You look at it and you go, no, it's not.
Yeah.
I feel like in my opinion, that's something that there's something that comes along with cosplay where it's a very visual medium, it's a very visual hobby. One of the things that has helped me is to really heavily push the idea that cosplay is for everyone. And if it is for everybody, it has to be for everyone.
Yeah.
You know, it has to be for the person who just takes photographs, it has to be for the person who builds everything from scratch, it has to be for the person who just does it, you know, for a Patreon.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Or if you buy your costume.
Or
that's okay.
or just because they love the character.
Yeah.
Like it literally, it can be for everybody. And I found that once you really embrace that cosplay is a multi-tiered, large pool of people and a very, you know, large community of usually mostly people who give rather than take, that your best effort is truly good enough. Think about what you learned from the situation, like what you have learned from it, but also don't ever be afraid to, like, if you truly don't believe in what it is that you're putting out on the stage, just try it again when you feel more comfortable. Like, that decision is like, it's between you and your God, because nobody can tell someone like, no, this is good enough if you truly don't believe it.
And so I will say, I have completely been there, and I am still there half the time. Like, there are times where I'm proud of something I worked on. There are times where I'm like, wow, this is just garbage.
Yeah.
And what I've come to it is cosplay. Some people cosplay, for their job. Some people do Patreons. I personally am doing it for a hobby. And I don't know if are you doing it for like hobby? Okay, so my advice personally is like, if it's a hobby, something you do it because you love it. And I feel like something that's helped me is thinking about it that I want to do this for me. And if you are personally not happy with it, then maybe if there's somebody who you can talk to say, hey, how can I make this better? But if you can look at it that if you are happy with it, then that's the most important thing. And that's something that has definitely helped me. It's not about what other people think about it. It's not about if someone would judge you or if somebody else is making this amazing armor and you're not. I think because that's a big change in cosplay recently. When I first started, it was literally like, I really like this character. I'm just gonna go out and maybe I'll get a picture. Like, I have hardly any pictures of my early costumes because social media wasn't a thing. You didn't really take pictures. It was, you would get home, maybe there would be a couple photographers who put giant like galleries, and you would have to go search through all the galleries that they would post on their big photo dumps. I know Akon used to do giant photo dump lists, and I'd spend the next Monday like, did someone take a picture of me? Because I didn't have a camera phone. And so it wasn't all about like this, this kind of competitive environment. And I feel like you're allowed to be competitive, but if you're doing it just for fun, it's like kind of taking a step back and be like, okay, am I actually genuinely happy with this? Or is there something else I would like to do differently with it or add to it? If you're actually genuinely happy with it, then I'd say just go for it and wear it, be excited about it. Just trying to find that excitement. And it can be really hard to find that sometimes with how social media everything is, and just like, everyone's doing all these glamour shots and all that stuff. So and I know it's hard. I've been going through a similar thing lately where I'm worried about, am I making something that people care about? And it's like, well, wait, that's not why I got into this hobby. I got into this hobby to dress up as fictional characters and be silly, have a good time, maybe cosplay with friends, which is my favorite thing to do. So that's kind of trying to figure out why are you cosplaying, and like what do you want to get out of it. So if you genuinely improve, like there's so many people to reach out to. I've reached out to so many amazing cosplayers who will give me advice, and they're just so open. And I know I've had people ask me about how I made my Astro, and I'm like, yeah, sure. Here's some of my references. I love talking to people about how I did stuff. So, yeah. But I don't know if that fully answers your question. Okay, cool.
I think I'm really same with Ashley. And I always think that what is your reason to do the cosplay? Because maybe I trust in here that people do cosplay because they really love the art, they really love the character, and they really want to improve themselves. But honestly, in our community, it's become a bit toxic because some people start thinking they are not good enough because they are jealous of the others. Not
in Indonesia?
Yeah, not because they want to improve themselves, but it's like, oh, my picture is only got 5 likes. Meanwhile, the other already have reached 100 likes, and they start being jealous without they are realizing it. So it's like deep in their hearts, they are start being jealous. That's why it's not a pure cosplay, and that's not your passion. You can stop it right now. For me, so I'm so agree with Ashley. If you really want to improve, there are so many people who want to help you out there. You can use social media, you can ask them as long as you ask them politely. Because sometimes I also get rude messages like, I want to do this, how do I do this? What? Who are you? It's funny, but if you ask them politely and correctly, I think everyone will gladly help you.
Yeah, and definitely, this is something I forgot to mention a second ago, but just remember there is a place for you in this community. No matter what you do, there is. And I fully believe that. I know there are a lot of people I know who believe that. So that's something that I try to keep in mind as well. So.
Thank you for the good question.
Another question?
Yeah. I love your antlers. They're so cute.
You're both so cute.
Yeah, you're both
cute
adorable.
board.
There's a lot of adorable people. Everyone in here is adorable.
So, because I've been in a few contests before, there's been a lot of like people going around saying that a lot of judges become pretty biased towards like big dresses or big armor, and I feel for some people that like, because I've done it before too, but for some people that are in the contest and they have something that like they're really proud of they made, like people don't get a lot of attention for that, and they say like, well, I have to like do this big armor even if they're not ready, because I've done it, I've been like kind of nervous, like I got this big armor and then I wasn't ready and it flopped totally. But like I feel like a lot of competitions came to the point where people are like too nervous to enter them because they're like, well, I didn't do this big costume, and so it's discouraging a lot of people from contests. I just think, what is your point on that kind of topic?
Can I start this one?
Yes.
Yeah. So one of the things that we actually talked about before we went into judging to deliberate was making sure that when we made our decisions, we tried to have a very well-rounded group of people that we were picking from who all either showcased proficiency in multiple facets or showed excellence within something that they were specializing in. Because if you look at us, we are girls, like we're 3 ladies. A lot of the times when you're female, you get kind of trundled into, oh well, they only sew. Freya makes armor and she sews and she performs, and she and her partner were top in the world. I've been cosplaying and for over 20 years, and I've built an entire suit out of Kevlar. It was bulletproof for Anime Expo 1998. And I have a background in fashion design and in competitive costuming and in textiles. And then Ashley has a background in sewing, in 3D modeling and 3D printing, in armor build, in in embroidery. All of us come with a background that you wouldn't know because we don't necessarily wear it on our sleeve. Sometimes I think it's good to trust in your judges, but I also really think that that's something that you can message the conventions and say like, I love this convention, I love cosplay, I want to see a well-rounded panel of judges. Nini chose us because we're pretty well-rounded, and she had faith that we would, choose to award excellence in multiple fields. I think that there shouldn't be much of a divide between like what is cosplay. Cosplay is big enough for everybody. it's a large enough pool for everybody. It really comes down to making sure that your conventions are choosing well-rounded panelists, and also that you yourself are showing, you know, excellence in whatever it is that you're deciding to compete in. I agree with you that there tends to be people who want to see that divide, like, oh, armor is the most important. It's like, well, no, armor is part of it. Or sewing is the most important. No, sewing is also part of it. And so is makeup, and so is performance. And so being a well-rounded cosplayer, and again, whole-assing one thing, not half-assing a couple things, is also really important.
Yeah. And something that we also talked about, like there are the categories. So that is definitely something that a lot of contests try to do to help encourage more people to compete is doing the novice, intermediate, or journeyman, and then masters, and that's totally and like novice is made for people who it's like their first time competing. They haven't won anything or walked a stage before, and that's I highly recommend like looking for contests that do have categories. Not all of them do, but a lot of them do now. I think Acon didn't have a category for a long time, and that now they do now. But something that I would just highly, I know it's hard, but just getting the experience of going is really well worth it, I feel. And something we also try to do is a lot of contests will have judges awards, and I know that every judge is different, but for me personally, when I do judges awards, we were trying to pick people who it's like I like to try to pick people to like encourage people. So like there's also judges awards for people who may not have won one of the other awards, but a lot of contests will do those, and they'll do like audience awards. So on that side, that's cool, but also like just doing contests just because like doing it without like expecting to win or needing to win. And so I feel like that's definitely a really great attitude. Is just kind of going into it where I just want to go up there, and for me, actually half the time, the past few times I've competed, I forgot there were rewards because I was just like, when we did Anime Fest in 2016 with our group, we just wanted to be on stage in the Granada in downtown Dallas. That's all we wanted. We just wanted, because the stage is beautiful. We're just like, we just want to be sparkly up there, and we won. We weren't expecting to win. That happens to me every time. I'm not expecting to win, but I don't win every time. It's okay. I think it's a better attitude. Is like when I first did WC. Well, the only time I've done WCS. Sorry, I've only done World Cosplay Summit once. Me and my partner, we were going into it because we wanted to try it. We've been wanting to do it for years, and we went in. We did not expect it to win. We actually expected. We were told we weren't going to win by some people because we hadn't been doing it for as long. And
that's not how that works, by the way.
It's not how it works. And I'm not talking on anybody in particular about that, but it's like we expected that we just because we didn't have the experience. Like that we weren't used to doing it. So it's totally it might happen and it might not, and that's okay. Sorry, that was really long-winded. That means we.
In Indonesia also like that, most of the people, both the contestant and also the audience, think that big armor has to win and it's super cool. That's why in Indonesia, like, you haven't heard some mistress maybe from Indonesian representative. It's only me, the girl who do sewing, because like they don't respect the sewing things. And they told them, oh, sewing is so easy, everyone can do that, something like that. And we are trying to change people's mind about that, both the contestant and the audience. Because sometimes they also bad-mouthing about the contestant or the winner, because, oh, they have a great armor, why does the girl with the dress won the competition? And something like that. And it's really wrong, and it's discourage all the contestants. So I think you better make it look simple costume, but it's neat rather than a big one, but it's not clean at all.
Yeah, definitely agree.
And that's my principle. That's my standard for judging for me. because it's no use you make big armor with lots of material and full color and anything, but
Yeah.
it's not clean.
Yeah.
You better do it the simple one, but it's perfectly fit and it's neat. I think like that.
Yeah, and
Hopefully helpful.
the Roxy that won at the contest you judged, she did a flapper dress, but she hand beaded the whole thing. So that's not a big costume.
Yeah. In 2017 for the Eurocos competition
Yeah.
in London, they had, I want to say, 27 entrants from all over Europe. We had a guy make a one scale Lego. He made himself a full body Lego. And then we had a girl who built herself a replica, and because it's a costume contest that specifically wants you to make a 1-to-1 accuracy costume. And then once you get to that level, they add basically like 2 minutes on stage, and that's only worth 20% of your score. So 80% of your score is the accuracy of your costume and the detail to which you made it, and then you get that 20% basically so that we take the top 10 and then rifle it out and go like, okay, well, these were the top 3, which one had the better skit? And the final 3 that we had for that, excepting maybe this contest, was the hardest decision I've ever been a part of. Her costume was better than the actual costume that was made for the film Chicago.
Yeah.
And I've seen that
Roxy Hart,
costume in person, and it was better. And she tipped the scale over also because her makeup was flawless, her hair was flawless. She made her own shoes. She built a gun, like the actual gun, a replica of the gun from the movie, and a newspaper that she weathered, and a robe, just because she could. And the gun itself was all made out of foam and weighed less than an ounce. And it was painted perfectly. It looked just like the gun. So she showed her competency across multiple things, and that's what pushed her over a large armor, or the giant Lego, which also showed incredible proficiency at what he was doing. The scaling on that was out of control. But it really comes down to like finding the thing that you are passionate about and doing it. Awards be damned. She wanted to do that costume because she loved that costume. She wanted the personal challenge, and she enjoyed the character and the performance part. And she did not expect to win anything.
Yeah, it was lovely. And for TwitchCon, this past TwitchCon, the girl who won second, I judged that contest. So the girl who won second, she was Princess Zelda from Link to the Past, and
Stunning.
beautiful costume. But it's not a big costume. It was. She sculpted. She had small armor pieces, but she sculpted them with clay and then cast them. And she lined her armor, so it was something that was a small piece, but it was done very cleanly and very well. Yeah. And we highly, highly valued that. Her sewing was impeccable, and it was when you look at that Zelda, it's like a white dress, but she has trim. She had a loin skirt that had embroidery on it, but it was still like maybe this long and this big, but it was very clean and very lovely and very well done, and she looked like Zelda. When she walked in, I gasped. I'm like, it's Zelda. She came in the room, and it was very excited, and she was just very impeccable. So, those kind of things can be rewarded. It's definitely different for every competition, but a craftsmanship-oriented contests, I feel like generally a lot of the ones I've seen recently are definitely starting to. It feels like it's starting to incorporate more looking at the quality of the object rather than the size. So that's definitely for me personally. I value quality over size. So yes, thank you so much for that question.
Thank you.
We talk a lot. I'm sure as you can tell, we're really passionate about cosplay.
That topic is something I'm very passionate about,
Yeah.
so thank you for asking that. Especially the big things versus small things.
I just feel like y'all are making me look good for getting 3 of you out here. I'm like, thank you for this free promotion that I'm getting. We have time for probably one more question.
Okay, because we talk so much.
Yeah, come on.
Actually, I'll just talk right now because
Sure.
my ankle a lot.
Oh, sure.
Please say
Understood.
you're fine.
What was your biggest mistake in painting, and what did you learn from it?
said painting?
Painting, like painting on fabric, armor.
Oh, I know exactly what my biggest mistake was.
Here we go.
I had
I'll think for a second.
I had blades for my Sword of Dios. I made 2 swords of Dios from Utena with a friend of ours who's a wood shop, who runs a wood shop. And what we did not realize was that Kryolan paints and Bondo and Carbondo paint particularly don't mix ever. It never cures. And to this day, I'm still sanding those damn swords. Like I haven't had time to like really sit down and take care of it, but like I've been sanding them off to get all of the Bondo out so that I can reprime it with anything else, and then actually have swords without fingerprints on them. And we didn't realize it until later. We're like, oh no. That's probably my biggest paint mistake. But the other thing I will say is that you'd be surprised what you can paint, and it'll stick, and you can use it for a long time. Like I always thought that like working with fabric paints was a fool's errand. Just go print it, like pay the money, give it to Spoonflower, make it do. Jacquard products are fantastic for hand painting. They're fantastic for large scale painting. You can actually seal them really, really well over things. They don't react with spray paints. They're basically like high grade acrylics. And they're fantastic. We use them a lot. Like my whole Saber altar armor, she's hand painted with Jacquard. The coverage is fantastic, especially with a paintbrush. They're not great for the Lumières through an airbrush because there's pearlized particles in the Lumières. Be careful because if you run it through an airbrush, chances are the particles will separate from the pigment. But trial and error, man. Just make yourself samples. Make a sampler. We do a lot of hand painting for my company. A lot of the Marvel pieces that we've done are we do a lot of dyeing, but we do a tremendous amount of hand painting and airbrush. So, but we also take large chunks of the fabric that we're using and do a lot of samples.
I know. My worst one was more recently where, well, it's kind of painting, it's painting related. I was trying to seal some foam for TwitchCon for a prop. I had hand carved out of foam, and my Plasti Dip, when I sprayed it on the foam, was completely bubbles. Like, it was entirely bubbles. And you can't really sand that crap off. So it pretty much ruined the prop. So my big thing is test your Plasti Dip. Always test that crap, because holy crap, I spent hours building this prop for my Astrologian. It just died. So I 3D printed it instead. So I have a 3D print of it now, and I'm currently cleaning it up. So
she never looked back.
I'm never looking back. I'm only 3D printing from now on. I have a 3D panel after this.
For me, the biggest mistake is making gradation for fabric.
Oh,
because we only have various the hot boiling type dyeing, so it makes the fabric fiber crinkles forever, and the gradation is not looking nice. So it's a miss.
Painting is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
hard.
this is a good lesson into the bin.
Wow. You guys didn't talk as long on that one. Did you have more to say?
You want to ask one
I
more?
was thinking, I was
We have
hoping
3
maybe
more
we could
minutes. We
squeeze one more
take
question
another
in.
question.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
go.
Yeah, we have another
Anybody?
question?
All right.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Just kind of curious, since you've all been competing for so long, how have you seen the competitions change, like the level of competitors that are coming in with what they're creating?
So I'm gonna start because I'm probably the oldest person for this. I walked the stage at Anime Expo in full armor in 1998.
1998?
1998.
I heard 88.
No, 1998. In 1998, my friend and I had made Bubblegum Crisis armor for Priss, and it broke my knee. It sprained my ribs, and I got heat stroke from it. we just didn't care about ourselves then.
Hashtag love yourself.
Hashtag love yourself. I feel like it's less about more aggressive costuming and more aggressive competitors and more about what is accessible. We have more wigs available than ever before. We have more fabrics available than ever before. I personally thank Yaya Han for making cosplay a word that people have in their vernacular now. You can go into Joann's. Cosplayers are keeping Joann's alive, like, let's be real. We're keeping that fabric section of Joann's happening. Like, that's us. Pat yourself on the back. Send a thank you note to Yaya. You know, we have like the costume section of McCall's and Simplicity and Vogue is bigger than ever before because people enjoy this hobby more than just during Halloween. You know, more than like sewing and tailoring and couture work. It was considered a dying art for a really long time, and it's coming back, it's resurging, just simply because cosplayers and costumers are interested in these techniques. They're starting to lax on a lot of guild memberships for being part of sewing guilds throughout the United States and Europe, just simply because the old guard is leaving or you know, unfortunately dying. So you have people who, because they started as cosplayers, are now working in industry jobs, either in opera or in theater or in film or television, and they need people who are diverse in their hobby like we are. Because we come to this event, you know, as cosplayers, we can sew, we can armor, we can paint, we can craft, we can style wigs, we can do makeup, we can walk a stage, we know how something is going to be stressed. We're basically double down quadruple threats. Like, we know a lot and they don't know what to do with us, so it's going to take a little while, especially for the guilds for the movie industry, because you have painters, you have cutters, you have sewers, you have prop builders, you have weatherers. Like, it's very, very, very broken up, but then they're building a new class that's basically like the person who you give something to or the person that you assign something to, and then they take it from basically the cut stage all the way to completion, because you can do that now. If you ever have a chance, go to Dragon Con and see some of the costumer guilds that are out in Atlanta, or go to Comic Con and go see the costuming guilds and television guilds where they talk about that kind of thing. Sorry, that sort of tangented off of what you had initially asked, but we have access to more stuff than ever before, so we are getting more competitive because we have 3D modeling now. We have wigs everywhere. Arta just kills it. We have thermoplastics that are readily available. We have things that you can use that aren't going to get in your lungs and kill you, like fiberglass. You know?
Thank God.
And
I've been terrified of fiberglass.
Yeah, fiberglass is very hard to work with. My family has a background in the movie industry. My stepfather was a special effects makeup artist, and that was what they were using. Fiberglass and vacuform and foam. And I remember when they made the switch from foam latex to silicone, and how suddenly age makeup and face altering and practical special effects were immediately changed when they started using silicone. And he was on the forefront of that. He was part of that switch, and texturing and stippling and things like that. So I think that knowing where you started from, acknowledging that things change and embracing those upgrades or those different types of cosplay or those different types of competing are really important. Like, there is no one right way to cosplay. That's a really big thing, in my opinion. Sorry.
Yeah, and it just, everything's more accessible now. When I first started cosplaying back in 2001, hardly anybody wore wigs. Like, wigs just weren't a thing. I cosplayed blonde, I'm naturally blonde, but I used to cosplay just blonde characters because I had long blonde hair. So I'm like, I can cosplay Ed Elric, and it's fine. So it's because it's more popular. There's a lot more stuff out there, so stuff gets more crazy.
And social media, you can
social
access
media,
it better.
The internet was still not as accessible when I first started. So I know, man.
There was no
old.
cosplay.com.
There was no cosplay.com. Like I remember Amphigory. If anybody knows what Amphigory is, it's
We had to get our way through Hollywood Boulevard from like the one drag queen who was nice enough to build the big wigs for us.
Yeah. So it's amazing because it means more people can cosplay. So and people are getting just more and more. I feel like it's just more and more creative, and it's just fascinating, honestly, just to see where things are going.
Freya?
For the craftsmanship is already by Ashley and Diana. In Indonesia, the performance is really great that we have had hard time to judge them because all the performers are unexpected and they are all great. But lately, this year and coming, they are start to forget enjoying their own performance. And people are start being very competitive, and I think it's not good because if you are not enjoying your own performance, the audience cannot enjoy your own performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm seeing that they start to forget about that.
So hopefully that won't be the case for long.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Any last words from you guys before Ashley stays in here?
I'm gonna be in here.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for coming. I just want to say that first and foremost. Thanks for spending your Sunday afternoon with us. We really appreciate it.
Keep cosplaying, keep making amazing work. Thank you again for having us. Like it's always like for me a personal pleasure to share something that's been such a heavy and large part of my life for such a long time with people who are either just starting or who have already established themselves in this hobby for a long time. And I really appreciate the opportunity to get to talk to it at length with everyone. So thank you.
Thank you for having me here and trusting me for sharing and judging. I'm so happy to meet everyone in here, and well, I'm a bit sad because I cannot bring my competition costume here because of the baggage. Indonesia is very, very strict about the luggage, and they always, it will mess me up. So maybe if I can come again here next year, or maybe the next year for 12 years, I can build up new costume and I can present something better than this uniform to you all.
Or maybe make a smaller hat.
Make a smaller hat. I've had the travel with tall hats. It sucks. It sucks, man.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you for coming, everyone.